seems to be a weird combination to have studied psychology and end up in IT. But it never felt unnatural. I mean, we were all trying, like I said, we're all there's a lot of marketeers here in the online space, and we're all trying to sell to consumers, right? So then you need to know, maybe even on a more neurological or biological level, how many things do people remember, or what stands out when you show something to people? What is how do you make something stand out? And how do sometimes when you expose people to similar information too much, they get blind for it. Like we know banner blindness, right? So if something looks like a banner, you can hide the most horrible stuff in there, but no one's going to see it anyway because we're not looking at it. And more general. So yeah, we're trying to sell stuff to people. So in order to do so, you need to know what makes people buy stuff, and that's no different online than offline.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of the CVO Live. I'm here with Guido Jansen, which is at the conference. Hi, Guido. Tell us about your environment. It looks great.
Yeah, I'm at a business online conference in London, which is held in the Museum of London. So that's where I'm at. I actually walked into the museum and you see kids walking behind me. It's the best spot I could find. It's the best internet connection here. So here I am.
Perfect. So let me give our audience a bit of intro about yourself. Guido, he's a psychologist, turned into marketer, turned into consumer behavior scientist, and he has run a lot of A/B testing experiments. He has been working with large companies. And Guido, tell us about yourself, and so that the audience could get to know you better than what I can say about you.
I thought it was a lovely introduction already. Yeah. I'm definitely a psychologist. I'm not sure if I'm turned marketeer yet.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I want to confess to that. But no, definitely working in e-commerce for the past 10 to 15 years, applying psychology to everything that happens online, and that often involves doing experiments, doing user research. I worked at the agency side and the client side, doing that, building CRO teams or CXO teams or whatever we want to call them these days. Yeah, I just did a presentation. So I currently work for Spryker, which is an e-commerce PaaS solution aimed at the enterprise market. I'm their global business and technology evangelist, building their community. And I did a talk bridging what I did before with running experiments, running A/B tests. I don't really A/B test that much anymore, but I do run a lot of experiments with the community that we have. But I was bridging the gap there was a lot of marketeers in the audience. They did raise their hand when we asked if there are marketeers, and they were interested in running A/B tests. It was shocking to see. I think I had like I don't know 40 people in the room. And then I asked, so I staged a couple of questions, drilling deeper in how involved people were in A/B testing. So my first question was very generic: who works at a company that is A/B testing? And then the next question was who is him or herself is A/B testing. And the third question was like how many A/B tests do you run? But already at the first question, there was only one hand in the air.
So no funnel for you there to qualify people.
Exactly. So that was a bit of a shock, but the presentation was still very interesting for them. I hope, judged by all the questions I got at the end. It was my pitch was to run bigger experiments. So of course we were all used to single issue A/B test, the classic single change, right? So we can measure cause and effect really well. My argument with this presentation was actually to go the other way and to run bigger experiments. So not multivariate experiment, but just really change it all, change the whole page. I don't care. Do those big experiments too. So I'm not saying you should only run those, but we should do more of those big experiments. I think so. Yeah, that's what I'm doing here.
Excellent. So Guido, you've been playing with these two disciplines, which are actually interconnected. I don't think that you can do marketing properly without having the psychology, let's say, principles, at least to respect the principles in psychology. I don't know if vice versa works, but I'm not getting into that because I don't know pretty much anything about psychology, except the fact that my wife, she's a psychologist, and she's always telling me some stories where I realize that Netflix is nothing compared to real life. I want to ask you about how you've got to blend these two disciplines together.
For me, it feels quite natural. I mean, it seems to be a weird combination to have studied psychology and end up in IT. But it never felt unnatural. I mean, we were all trying, like I said, we're all, there's a lot of marketeers here in the online space, and we're all trying to sell to consumers, right? So then you need to know, maybe even on a more neurological or biological level, how many things do people remember, or what stands out when you show something to people? What is, how do you make something stand out? And how do, sometimes when you expose people to similar information too much, they get blind for it. Like we know banner blindness, right? So if something looks like a banner, you can hide the most horrible stuff in there, but no one's going to see it anyway because we're not looking at it. And more general. So yeah, we're trying to sell stuff to people. So in order to do so, you need to know what makes people buy stuff, and that's no different online than offline. Of course, there are a lot of different aspects online, which makes it fun. But the basic principle, we're still trying to sell to people. So yeah.
Perfect. Guido, as you know, I'm a strong believer in long-term relationships, and that's happening in my life, and it's happening in my professional life as well. We've just turned out 9 years old here at OmniConvert. I realized at some moment that in order to be happy, you need to do something. Even though we are building sand castles, the idea is to do a sand castle which is actually bigger, and it has like we were sitting on the beach, you know, to have many tunnels and make it look better. So also in consumer behavior, I'm a big proponent of long-term relationships, and that means I think we're on the same page with that. I think that we are coming after 2 decades of acquisition marketing, where marketers have been obsessed about new customers, not happy customers, not returning customers. What do you think about acquisition marketing, and what do you think about this shift, which is slowly but steadily happening from focusing from acquisition to lifespan marketing?
Yeah, I mean, hopefully our finance and BI departments are going to tell the marketing department saying, hey, acquisition is really expensive. Maybe we should focus more on long term and provide them with the data. I think everyone gets this, right? I mean, it's not that people are against this or don't get this or that kind of thing, but we are all driven by quarterly goals, and they can come from the top down. It can be just like an e-commerce department, and often these goals don't include something like customer lifetime value. It includes the sales that we have made this quarter, or the number of signups that we have this month, and those long-term goals or numbers are not included in that. And that's and of course that's if that's what you see day by day, and if that's what you talk with your manager about, yeah, of course everyone gets short-sighted, and that's a shame. And that's basically we are retraining everyone in that space, everyone that's very sensible and very smart, we hire smart people. But then if you tell them every day to look at, okay, how much growth did we did today versus yesterday? Yeah, of course. In the end, they stop caring about the long term and say, okay, yeah, okay, let's. Well, I mean, I think I've given you this example before. I worked at the flower company, and every day, the first thing all e-commerce managers that e-commerce managers managing all the countries, and each day those e-commerce they opened this report, and BI department did a forecast for the whole year, day by day, how much sales they expected. Sales, right? Not even revenue, just number of sales, number of orders, and compared that. So they did this forecast, and every day they opened their emails. First thing they did every morning: how much was the forecast for yesterday, and how much did we actually sell? That's the first thing they did. This is what their managers looked at. That's what they looked at, and everyone knows this is silly, right? I mean, for first you have daily fluctuations, so it doesn't make any sense. So maybe the forecast was 500 and I sold 600. Is that good? Is that bad? What's a regular fluctuation? Is a day by day fluctuation, is it 5 or 10? Then it's really good. Is a regular daily fluctuation more, your standard deviation more like 200? Then it doesn't tell you anything, and it's not actionable, and all those kind of things. So yeah, that's a big problem, I think. And I saw yesterday or the day before on LinkedIn someone saying, I think it was, I don't recall the exact example, but I think he said something like that they did an experiment where they removed some information, some product information, and actually, they added some information that was valuable to know for the product, like a product demo, and basically they informed the customer better about the actual product, which was apparently lacking before in the A variant. The B variant, they had more information on the product, and their conversion went down. And they said, okay, that's bad, so let's not do it. And I commented on that saying, well, actually, it might be good for you because your conversion rate might go down, but your customer lifetime value might go up, right? I mean,
yeah,
you might, if everyone keeps signing up for your product, and then after a month they say, oh shit, no, this is actually not what I expected. Let's cancel. I mean, well, I mean, sure, I guess that's nice for your cash flow for that month, but it's not helping you in the long run.
Yeah.
But that is the data that we often look at. So that's that's an issue.
Yeah, I think that there are two things that I want to unpack here from what you've just said, Guido. One thing is that the decision makers in the companies, they have their biases as well, and as long as they don't change the targets, and as long as they are not informing how the long-term things are let's say fluctuating, like year-over-year customer retention or customer lifetime value, or the balance between customer lifetime value and customer acquisition cost. What was yesterday compared to today? All they are looking is at the end results, and I'm completely with you on this. I think the mentality shift, if that's going to happen within the company, then the behavior is going to happen, because as you know better than myself, it's always coming from the mindset, right? From the mental model that you're using. And yes, by all means, I mean, I've been staying in this market of CRO since I was way younger than I am today. I've started this journey 12 years ago. When I was tweaking the website, we were selling online car insurance. I was, let's say, doing all sorts of experiments, like adding testimonials with the geolocation, putting pictures from the main square, from the city of the visitor. I've been tweaking around all these things. And I do know for a fact that while CRO and the acronym of CRO is fantastic, is not complete to encapsulate what a company should optimize. And that's why I think the customer value should be optimized. And you've said it beautifully, that at some point you can increase the conversion rate, so you can convert more visitors into customers. But are those customers going to be happier And are those customers going to buy again? And is the customer lifetime value going to be better? Because if you optimize for immediate things like conversion rate, then you can shoot yourself in the foot.
If only there was a tool that can let us know more about the conversion on the long term and the customer lifetime value and that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Well,
if only.
If only, yeah. We're working at it, as you know, we pivoted since 2019, and I think we've done the right thing, Guido. We had our conversations back in the days when I was reluctant if the market will embrace this. I do think, and we are looking nowadays, we have more than 2,000 websites pushing data to us. We are seeing all these patterns around customer lifetime value by vertical, by purchase frequency. So we can see all this stuff. And I think it's beautiful. It's coming. I mean, the behavior of the companies is, it has to become customer centric, right? So you either have delighted customers or you are falling into oblivion, because that's the market condition at this moment. If you don't care about who's your customer, why they are buying, what kind of progress they want to make in their lives, then eventually customers will migrate. It's so easy right now to switch from a vendor to another, even in telecom. You know, nowadays they used to have all these 3 years agreement, and now you can actually have a subscription to a telecom operator for only 1 month, which it shows clearly that we as consumers are more powerful than ever.
Yeah, and I think groups of consumers, that's what makes it powerful, and forming communities around your product. I mean, that's obviously what I do, so I'm a bit biased here, but I think it's hard to compete on features, right? If you need to have a loyal customer base and people that like you and that stay with you and give you valuable feedback. That's where you can make the difference as a company. I mean, that's what I've seen in communities, and that's also why you yourself stay with companies, right? And if you don't have a bond with a company, it's easy to switch.
Yeah, Guido, I want to ask you about your take on cognitive biases, because you are in this space, and I've heard you multiple times about this. We've met, for the audience to know, we've met back in 2015 in Cluj at the vegan restaurant, because we used to have one vegan restaurant in the whole country back in 2015. And I've heard your take on this, but first, what are cognitive biases? And second, which are your favorite ones?
My favorite ones. Well, cognitive biases are basically the prejudices that our brain has, right? In any situation, even right after you've been born, but especially as an adult, you don't go into situations as a blank slate. There's a lot of baggage that your brain takes in terms of experience in how the world works and how things work around you when interacting with the environment. And this holds true on the biological level. For example, that if you see a shadow, the shadow is usually on the other side of where the light source is, which is usually from the top. The light seldomly comes from the bottom. I've done actually some fundamental research at the university about this. If you show people an image, let's say it's a grid of bars, just like simple bars, like squares or rectangles. And if one of those, it's like a grid of 100 of those rectangles. If you slightly angle one of those rectangles, it pops out. You immediately, you don't have to search for it. It immediately pops out to your brain. You immediately, so it's not a serial test. Your brain can parallelly manage that and process that, and immediately see this is the one that stands out. And shadows. The funny thing about shadows, it's not that it's there, but it's usually not a feature that's important to us. So your brain has learned, it can be morning, it can be evening, it can be night. Shadows, like I said, they usually are on the other side of the light source, so usually downward. But it's usually not that relevant to us. So we did the same experiment. So we didn't, and we repeated the experiment. So this time we didn't did a slight angle of one of the rectangles. The rectangles all stayed the same, but we made a slight change, a similar change, a similar angle change in the shadows of those rectangles. So all those rectangles had a shadow. It took multiple minutes for people to find the changed shadow, which had the same deviation as the rectangle in the first experiment. Yep. Showing you that the brain can be it's trained to certain situations, and certain situations pop out to you, while others are disregarded by the brain. I mean, it's similar visually. It shouldn't make much difference. Visually, the change is the same. It should be theoretically, it should be as easy to see a slight change in the rectangle itself or a slight change in the shadow of the rectangle. But your brain gives meaning to those signals. It gives a meaning to the rectangle. Rectangles are important to us. Those are features of the environment. Shadows are very early on in your I think it was V2 area in your brain. Shadows are disregarded. So it's really hard to access that information afterwards. So that's on a biological level. On a more practical level for us marketeers in e-commerce stores, you have things like social proof. We are influenced by what others do. I mean, if everyone is voting for some lunatic, there's probably some merit in that, right? I mean, why else would they be doing that? Or if everyone is buying this brand, probably some value in that. All these people probably made a conscious decision and thoughtfully thought about this. They haven't, but that's the reason that we assign to that. And similar with a similar form of social proof, like authority assigned to a specific person or a specific institution that says, okay, if David Beckham tells me this and he's supporting UNICEF, maybe I should look into UNICEF. Maybe that's important because I already like David Beckham. So probably when next time UNICEF is at the door collecting for money, I remember, oh yeah, I like David Beckham. Let's also support UNICEF because he's also supporting it. That's basically how influencers work, right? So those are that's basically what a cognitive bias is. So a bias for our brain, even when we get into a natural situation, our brain already assigns values to things and probabilities to things beforehand, and those might be wrong, right? I mean, they work in 99% of the cases. That's why we have the bias, because it's constantly being reinforced. That's why those biases are working, and they are there and they're helpful to us. Yeah, but sometimes it doesn't work, and we evolved in social situations where we had max, I don't know, 50, 100 people for very, very long period of history, and now if in that situation if you only know 100 people and 70 people are going in a certain direction, yeah, you better follow them. That's what the majority is doing. That's really important. But right now with online, that's a different situation. We still think, oh, 70 people are doing this, so it's probably very important. But of course, the scale is completely different. We can contact billions and billions of people, and 70 people doesn't mean that much. But for our brain, that's still a lot of people that are doing something important. So probably they're right, which they're not often.
Got it. Yeah. So Guido, what's confession time? Tell us, what cognitive bias have you used in your experiments?
Oh, well, yeah, a lot. I mean, the most prominent ones are described in the Cialdini books, I think. That's definitely not the only ones. And I mean, if you go to Wikipedia, there's, I think, a list of 600 of those cognitive biases. You do need to be careful with them, right? And that's why we're A/B testing. A lot of those social experiments don't hold up they're really hard to generalize to other situations. So even if they hold up, and of course we had like this small crisis in social sciences, like, I don't know, 5 years ago, where a lot of studies were repeated, and it's really hard to replicate them. That's already one issue. But even for those that hold up, we definitely don't have proof, really good proof for all those 600 biases that you can find on Wikipedia. It's definitely not that much. But use them as inspiration for your experiments. Surely, if it works for you, it works for you. It doesn't really matter if you can connect it to a cognitive bias or not. But use that as inspiration, and don't use it as random, right? It's not like this big wheel with 600 things. You just swing it, see what comes up top, and it's, oh yeah, let's use that. That's not how it works. That's not the most efficient way of doing that. You need to first do that user research. You first need to do that hard work. Unfortunately, you need to figure out what's the problem that your customer is having. Why are they having that problem, ideally? Or, well, the why is really hard to figure out, of course, but try to get hints, do user research, try to get hints as to why things are not working out. And then you can ask a psychologist saying, hey, I have this problem and this is what the customer is struggling with. We have this nice catalog of cognitive biases. What can we use? Yeah. And it might not, and a small addition, cognitive biases, that's just about the biases that we have. There's also another layer that you can look at is just like general usability issues, right? And that's not necessarily a cognitive bias, is more, literally a bias that we have in the preference that we have when choosing something, but also a whole range of usability issues that we can have on websites and in daily life, by the way, but on websites that things are not even functioning. So that's also a different dimension to this. Yeah, Guido, I think if we look from above, all the A/B testing and all the experimentation on the website is relying on the framing bias, right? So because at the end of the day, if you don't change the price or whatever if you're not changing the price of the product, in order to get a different consumer behavior, you are framing the same thing differently. You're using different wording, you're using different design, layouts, whatever. But at the end of the day, framing things differently leads to a different consumer behavior, which I think is fantastic. And through continuous optimization, you could leverage a different consumer behavior. I want to shift a bit the gears and to look at what are your, let's say, insights towards improving the long-term consumer behavior. So what do you think the companies are not getting in terms of how they behave towards their customers so that they behave better? I think this goes back to what I just said about trying to build a relationship and trying to build a community around this. Yeah. It does depend a bit about on the product that you have, of course, but in general, I think customers or companies are very much focused, again, maybe by the lack of data that they have, but very much focused on doing that sale today and not about building that relationship. Yeah, you want that first sale is nice, but we all know you need 2, 3, 4, 5 sales maybe. Again, depending on what you're selling, for the consumer to get to that aha moment and that they get, oh, this is what it's about. Yeah. And I really like this. And you need to get to a point where they don't even want to consider alternatives, that they're so happy with whatever you're doing. And especially with, I think, like SaaS products, if that's what you're selling, that sign up of the first month, you don't care about that. I mean, that's nice. That's a first step in the funnel, but you want people to actually start using your product. and reusing it. Start doing this. Come back every month. Come back every week. Come back every day. That's what you're working towards. It needs to become an integral part of their workflow, and then it starts getting value. Then I mean, usually a SaaS product is built by month, right? So you want that first month. That's nice. Again, it's nice for someone to sign up and have extra, I don't know, $50, $500, whatever your pricing is for that first month. But that's probably not gonna keep your business afloat. It's about the long-term, month-over-month retention that you have. And I think a lot of companies that sell single item products can learn a lot from SaaS company. I mean, as a SaaS company, you're almost forced to do this. But also, I don't know, even if you're an online supermarket, especially I think if you're in that kind of business, online supermarkets, having that first time sale on your site again is not that interesting. You want them to return to you. You want them to become an actual customer of you. Yeah, it needs to become a habit, and that's what you're aiming for. If they sell, I mean that first sale, it's probably a net negative for you as a company, both for SaaS companies and for online supermarkets. But it's about the long term, and I think that mindset is flowing into more and more other companies. So that's good.
Yeah. However, there are many grocery retailers and online supermarkets and decision makers over there, which are all they are doing is to push ads, media to get people into their stores, but the people are already online. Most of them are doing this type of buying. They are buying through their mobile phones. It's very easy to switch them to get your, I don't know, yogurt or whatever you are buying every day from another delivery company. Whilst the big online supermarkets, they risk to become only warehouses, where the scooters are coming from these smart apps, because if something goes wrong, the supermarket is to blame. If something goes well, it's the nice delivery app that's allowing you to get these goods at your door in, I don't know, 1 hour, 2 hours. And what I think that is that the decision makers in the grocery retail industry, they are not getting that the metrics that they should be following right now have changed. Like 3, 4, 5 years ago, it was okay to look at let's say revenue, and to look at things like product assortment and stock depletion rate and so on. Whilst now they should be looking through their loyalty programs, they should be looking at real customers that have real needs, and the metrics have been changing. I mean, you are not doing the right thing if you're not tracking things like the purchase frequency, right? How many orders per customer per month or per week, average days between the transactions, right? ADBT, like, is this shrinking or is this getting larger? Chances to place the next order after the first, second, third, is this going, is this kind of data showing you that your online supermarket is going well, or you are not even measuring this data? And I think there are these maturity phases where companies will wake up to the fact that they need known customers, and B, they need happy customers. And all these metrics will need to be tracked so that they are making progress and they are keeping their customers coming, because it's not like another planet B where from they will get customers.
I know from a company that's I think that they're doing surveys, which I found really interesting. The survey, the question that they ask is, if we would cease to exist tomorrow, how would that make you feel as a customer, or as a business user, right? If it's like a SaaS product, as your customers, if OmniConvert would cease to exist tomorrow, how bad would that be for you? How would you be impacted by that? And that's a bit scary to ask. but that's if the response to that is that it's really bad for them, if it would cause a lot of headaches for them, then that's good for you. I mean, for even, I mean, we're talking online supermarkets, but they're right now, well, at least in the Netherlands, you have quite a bit of options. So if one of them, if my favorite would stop doing that tomorrow, not that bad. I mean, I need to type in a different URL, and I probably need to reorient myself a bit on their assortment of products, and maybe they have like different delivery schedules. But I wouldn't feel it's not going to be a huge thing, right? I mean, it's and it's just a commodity right now.
Yeah, and you need to I think in the e-commerce especially, customer experience is the new arena, because at the end of the day you can find the same products to every other company, you know, and the overlap between, I don't know, grocery retailers are like 90%. So it's not like you can't find the special brand. You have your private label brands that you are selling as a supermarket, as an online grocery retailer, and that's it. Otherwise, you can find the same brands of I don't know, Tide or whatever washing powder you are using, but the customer experience is what you're after. And I think you have a great example there in the Netherlands, Coolblue, which they are doing some outstanding things on the customer experience arena. And I think that buying habit is reinforced by positive emotions, right? And if you can attach positive emotions to the products that you're selling, because you can't simply ship products from A to B, you need to do something on top of that. And the more competition is coming in this space, the more chances you have to simply be forgotten and neglected by the customers. And as you've said, Guido, we are becoming commodities, and we need to make sure that we are perceived as a painkiller and not as a nice to have vitamin, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
If we are to move further a bit, Guido, regarding where do you think the market is going? Let's see where the experimentation is going. There are all sorts of voices regarding where the market is going. You know my position around optimizing all the channels and optimizing the relationship with the customer, no matter the channel. So it's not like only website or email or ads, it's everything, right? Because you have a relationship as a brand with your consumer. And I dream of a moment where we are not doing only website A/B testing, but cohort A/B testing, right? Let's treat our customers differently across all the channels, and let's see if the data supports that experiment. Where do you think it's going from your perspective, Guido?
Well, that's actually where I left my presentation today. So my presentation was about 3 parts. It was about comparing small experiments with big experiments. And a couple of part 2 was about the examples of big experiments, what you need to do. And the third part, so part 1 and 2 was actually it's still changing the front end, still changing stuff that the customer sees in their browser. But in the third part of my presentation, I was actually I challenged the audience in going beyond that front end, and saying, okay, it's nice to change the title of your email or the content of your transactional emails. It's nice to tweak your search engine a bit. It's nice to work with your reviews and ratings module to see how you can optimize a bit. But what if you wouldn't tweak those, but just swap them out or A/B test them, ideally, for a completely different solution? What if you A/B test a completely different search engine for your store? What if you completely change the checkout in your store? The example is actually something that I encountered a lot in the past 10 years. I worked a lot. I don't want to bash on Magento. I love Magento people, but one of the issues I had when working with Magento and trying to optimize that, a lot of things that we wanted to optimize, people were things happening in the checkout funnel. I mean that should be that should be familiar to a lot of CRO people. The checkout funnel is quite important. Of course, you want to optimize things there, but the checkouts in Magento, being a monolithic system, was extremely hard to change. Everything was interconnected. If you wanted to change something, move fields around, add fields, remove fields, change the order in which things happened, near impossible. They did have some checkout extensions for Magento that could replace the basic Magento checkout flow. But then again, it was really hard to A/B test them. It was all or nothing, right? So then you still didn't really know how these things happen. And that's also the bridge to what I'm doing today at Spryker. Spryker is a completely modular system. It's a PaaS platform for e-commerce. And they have roughly 100, so the whole e-commerce platform consists of like 120 different feature sets that are all independent of each other. They're all connected through APIs. You might want to call them microservices, if you will. And we connected them, or we combine them in packaged business capabilities. That's the term Gartner gives to these.
Yeah.
So these are combined in 30 business capabilities. So that's something that you can do with modern systems like that. Then you say, okay, we want a different checkout engine. We want to have compare different payment providers. We want to compare different, I don't know, return engines that you use, or gift card engines. And those are big experiments that can have, and that's also the argument I made in the presentation, that the bigger the experiment, at least the uplift, the chance for uplifts are bigger, and small experiment, and you don't need the traffic for small, the traffic that you need for small experiments. Big experiments don't require that much traffic if you make so much changes. Of course, it can also be negative, don't get me wrong, and they require a bit more setup than like, I mean, if you want to change button colors, go ahead. Those are really easy, but the chance for uplift is also incredibly small. So that's probably not the arena where you want to be in. But yeah, I totally agree that we need to, I think as a CRO specialist, we want to break out of that cycle of improving things that work this month or this quarter, the things that we can measure today, and try to break out of that and think much bigger.
That's right. We have a question from the audience, Romeo. Man, it's asking you, I'm curious on your view on effort heuristic.
As in, when people put in more effort in something that they value it more, is that what he's referring to?
I guess so. I mean, my interpretation was the same around the fact that you are trapped in the mouse wheel, you know, because you've like at the casino, you know, you've bet too much.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's also one. Of course, it's really hard to pull out of something if you've invested a lot of time and effort in it, right? Yeah. So I'm not sure what you want to know. I think it's a valid heuristic that you can definitely try. I mean, it's also the idea behind IKEA, right? I mean, that you value your stuff more when you've built it yourself. So you can say, yeah, I built that couch and I built that closet.
Yeah,
it gives you a sense. Yeah, it gives you a sense of ownership. And also, indeed, it also links. So a lot of these biases, as it listed on Wikipedia, they're also interconnected. A lot of them have different names, and it also links to, like you said, it links to incremental, asking small incremental things from people. like the foot in the door principle, asking incremental things from people, getting them into a yes flow. Then it becomes harder to say no, right? If you're a salesman at the door, hello, someone opens the door, hello, sir, do you own a house? Yes. Does your house have a front door? Yes, it does, of course. Are you a person? Yes. No, you already said yes 3 times. Do you happen to need I don't know, a new printer? Sure, that's the 4th yes. Really easy. could you do you want to upgrade your printer experience or your laptop experience or whatever you're selling? So getting small yeses can lead to a bigger yes, and that's also something that's related to this effect. So yeah, and that's something you can do online, right? And it's really hard for people to say yes to a big request at first. Start with smaller requests and start building up. That's usually easier to do than start with a big request first.
Excellent. So Guido, official ask here live. Would you be interested? You haven't said any free yeses before, but I'm taking my chance. Would you be interested to participate as a professor in our CVO Academy and to share more of your insights with our audience?
Sure. I mean, I can't say no. I can't say no right now, right? I mean, we recorded this, right? So you already have your first session.
Excellent, easy. All right. So Guido, thanks a lot for being today with us. Do you have any final thoughts to our audience, and where can people reach out to you if they want?
I do have one thing that I want to, as a little sidestep that I want to give to the audience. So my audience today was very new to A/B testing, and I think your audience is very experienced with the whole optimization ecosystem that we have. And I mean, if you're using OmniComfort, of course you have experience with this. But I think it's relevant for both experienced and new people to the scene. Is that I just want to give you some food for thought on how you frame experimentation in your organization. You already mentioned framing. That's important on your website, on your e-commerce store, on how to do that. But I want you to, that's my final thought for you as a listener. Think about how you frame experimentation in your organization, because when you talk about experimentation or A/B testing in general, this is something to managers, to your stakeholders, to your budget holders, to maybe your finance team, depending on how big your organization is. Those things sound scary as shit. They don't want you to experiment. They hired you to be the expert in whatever you do. So apply that. Don't experiment. Do stuff. Implement stuff that works. Right? That's what you want to do. That's what they want you to do. So talking about experimentation or running an experimentation program or CRO might not be very comfortable to those kind of people. If you sense that, I suggest you frame experimentation in a bit of a different way. What I suggest you do is to tell them that even if you haven't run an A/B test, everyone in your organization, everyone working on your e-commerce store is already experimenting. They experiment every day. The content team pushes new content live. The design team pushes new designs live. The development team pushing new features live. You have a product team that changes the product itself or the composition of the product. So everyone's making changes already. Everyone's running experiments all the time. They are really bad experiments because they're probably serial experiments. They're just pushing it live, and with any luck, they're checking it. But there's a big chance they're not even checking it. The effect of those things. So tell your stakeholders, everyone's already experimenting. I am just here to basically manage the risk of all those experiments. I want to manage the risk of everyone changing all those things on the website, and I want to improve the quality of those experiments. I want to turn those experiments into A/B test or whatever you want to do. So you're not the one experimenting. Experimenting is what the whole company does. You're here to structure that, to manage that risk. And I think I have enough cases seen already to be pretty sure that you'll get a bigger budget next year if you approach it this way.
I love it. Yeah. So Guido, where can people reach out if they want to get in touch with you?
Well, apparently there's a course coming out from me at OmniConvert. So maybe look out for that. So yeah, my website is gui.do. It's very short, gui.do. And you can find me on LinkedIn and on Twitter as gui.do. Yeah.
Perfect. Guido, it was great having you here all the way from London.
From the Museum of London, yeah.
Museum of London, exactly, yeah. So thanks again for being with us today, and thanks
Yes.
everyone for watching, and stay tuned because a new course from Guido is coming at the CVO Academy.
Awesome.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.